First up, I have to apologise for the fuzzy video. This was taken off the council website, so it's not very high quality, but I think it's better. You get to see the members performing in the chamber. So we've had Ion Shoal Haven Council has had a petition running for some months now, trying to raise attention to Patricia White's outlandish allowance habit. She does comply with current guidelines, but she's pulling in about $30,000 a year just by driving around willy-nilly and making claims. You're going to see, interestingly, Councillor Kemp, who's the Mayor's best buddy, try and stop the presentation of the petition for it being illegal. Clearly she knows nothing. I'd have to say she's a numbskull, but she's very dedicated to Patricia. She has indicated later in the meeting that she intends to put a rescission motion in, because this motion was carried particularly with the help of Councillor Dunn and Councillor Kazmiri. I'd say Councillor Kazmiri is going to get a smack from the Mayor when she returns. But anyway, we'll see how we go, and I'll stop and make some comments after each of the speakers.
Councillor Expenses and Facilities Policy for adoption. Councillor Tribe.
Thank you, Mr Acting Chair. I would like to move the policy with a change. In the attachments on page 151, I'll request the amendment come from there. I note a lot of the feedback was around having the policy be as close to the OLG template as possible. And we've got a few additions to official business from OLG policy. A few of those are fair enough too. We've got Australia Day and Anzac Day ceremonies. We've got CCBs, and that is unique to our council, so I completely understand that. We've got meetings with ratepayers and residents, and then we've got a note down the bottom as well, which is also additional to the OLG's template. It's anything additional to those items listed above require prior approval from CEO or delegate. And presumably that is so that anything outside of this can still be done, but just with request. For those reasons, I am moving it with striking out the dot point about meetings with ratepayers and residents, so that if meetings happen, they can happen obviously by phone, by email, before other official business like CCB meetings, or if a site visit must be done or a meeting, then the other provision kicks in where you can request approval from the CEO or the CEO's delegate, which might be governance, to say, I've been invited to this site briefing, I will be attending, and I will be seeking to claim for that journey, which is understandable that people would like to do that in certain instances where they can't communicate with the person in any other format. My concern is, let me speak to the benefits of that. By notifying the CEO or the CEO's delegate about that, then you're also more likely to be covered, and there are protections from council in people knowing where you're going and covering you for insurance purposes, rather than it being unknown. And I also think it leaves council open to potential misuse by leaving it in. I'm not suggesting anyone around this table would do that, but I think by putting it in there, we're making sure that we're keeping the policy as robust and tight as possible and as in line with the OLG guidelines as possible. I think by leaving it there, it sends a negative message. Councillors, we do need to step up, and we are tightening our belts across the whole organisation, and we too need to do that and be as economical as possible with how we behave. But yeah, I also think that we need to have strong justification about why we'd be deviating from OLG policy, and I'm just not seeing the justification for that. As I said, there are ample other ways that we can communicate with people, and we can still go and visit. There just needs to be that additional approval, which provides an added layer of protection as well. I do have a question, but I will do the question now as well before we open to debate. It was mentioned in there that another change to the model code is the ability to have the mayoral vehicle as optional. If we do move this way tonight, can I ask, through you, Mr Chair, to staff, what would happen to the mayor's vehicle that's already been allocated and is sitting in a depot? What would happen to the vehicle?
Yeah, through you, Mr Chair, there seems to be ambiguity around this vehicle, councillors. There were several of the same vehicles purchased at the time. The previous mayor's vehicle has been auctioned off, so that is no longer part of our fleet. There are similar vehicles that still remain on fleet at this point.
Great. So I'm moving with that amendment, striking out meetings with ratepayers and residents, and reserve my right of reply.
Thank you, Councillor Tribe. Well, we're discussing
My first comment would be what a sensible approach. Councillor Tribe, in my view, clearly should have been mayor. She's articulate, she's smart, and she's able to put a point across. So what she's basically saying is there's no restrictions on councillors doing their business. We should be closer to the OLG standard, and that's what I put in my submission to council. So well done, Councillor Tribe.
Do we have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Kazmiri and Councillor Kemp.
No, I'm second amendment. Yeah.
Would you like to? Talk to that.
Thank you. Yeah, no,
That's what we're discussing.
No, I disagree. I think Councillor Tribe's inference is unnecessary, and I think that if ratepayers, you should be able to go and meet with ratepayers, and I would think that the CEO, keep checking in with him every 5 minutes if you can go meet someone, is just going to add additional work and unnecessary layers. So I think that should just be completely left alone. Thank you.
Here you see Councillor Cox reverting to a very standard approach that the SIG Council has. If you're onto them about something shady, they claim to be victims. They claim that bureaucracy's a dead hand on council, when in fact what we're talking about here is accountability. And if you go back to Councillor Tribe's point, it all makes sense. So Councillor Cox's comment added nothing to this debate.
We're just going to clarify something. Councillor Proudfoot.
Thanks, Mr.
Okay, let's get into some facts here. Bob seems to be saying that, there's nothing here to look at. Well, that's not right. If you look at the graphic above, you'll see comparisons between Booga Valley, Byron, Coffs Harbour, Europedella, Kempsey, Mid Coast and the Shoalhaven, all comparable. But have a look at the council expenses, the first line there, where you sort of see it ranging from 95,000, 43,000, 56,000, Kempsey 1,000. Then you get to the Shoalhaven, $295,000. Now you go, well, why would the Shoalhaven be so high? Well, when you look back, it's of the table below. What you're seeing there is above average and actual. This is Patricia's claiming pattern. So what it's saying is, of all the councillors that were on council in 23-24, she claimed $23,500 more than the other councillors. So, and her actual claim that year was nearly 40,000. So you can see in just about every year, she's been above average by, 40,000, 41,000, 30,000, 22,000, 30,000, 19, 21, 26. So, and then the actual claim she's put in since 2013 till last year is $500,000. Now, nobody is anywhere nearer on our council. And then when you compare our council to other councils, we're the biggest claimer of council expenses, which primarily is Councillor White. Now, if you tell me that that's not an issue worth looking at, I don't know much. So that's the facts. Now, let's just go and see what else Bob's got to say.
Chair, no, I agree with Councillor Cox. I believe that you need to trust your councillors. They've been elected by the people to represent the people. And if a councillor wants to go and, say, look at a drainage issue at Culburra, then the councillor should be able to go out there and look at that drainage issue, whether there are residents there or not. It may be during the height of a storm to see exactly what's going on. It may be an issue on a foreshore. You do meet with a few people, and without having to contact the CEO or the nominee of the CEO to, like a school kid, to get permission. Now, I'd probably make less claims than most people here. And that's because I've been on council for quite some time and I pretty well know the area, so I don't have to get out there and keep looking at it. But for councillors that aren't real sure about some of the spots in our city, they haven't seen what happens, they should be able to go there at any time they feel like, go and look at the issue. If they're talking to people, well and good. If they know the name of the people, well and good, they can put that on the form when you make your claim. But otherwise, trust your councillors. If we haven't got trust in each other, Or we try and play, I'm not saying Councillor Tribe's trying to play politics with it, but I know other people do. They're forever at this travel claim thing to trying to make a big issue of it. I think it's pretty poor form. I trust the people around this table. I don't see why everyone can't trust the people. Thanks, Mr Chair.
Thanks, Councillor.
So here's Bob doing a bit of SIG jiu-jitsu, not addressing the issue, but diverting off to some fantasy world where the poor old mayor or whoever else is the victim of the evil members of the public who are keeping an eye on them. So trusting the councils. Look, I wouldn't trust Patricia or some of the SIG councillors as far as I could throw them. And I'm sure that there's a number of people, at least 300 that I'm aware of, have got the same view. Now, this idea about being school kids, no, this is about public money that's being squandered by Councillor White, who's no new person. She's been in the area since, I don't know, since the early 2000s, and she's been on council since 2013. She's driven more kilometres than Jack Brabham. So sort of suggesting that, you know, some new councillors are causing problem. None of the new councillors are causing a financial problem. And I'm sure we'll see that when the half-yearly statements are put out, and we'll see what Councillor White's been up to. It'll be the same old story, another $30,000 as she plugs around the town in a little coat. This is just, again, more nonsense about trust. No, trust is about following procedures, and it's about having checks and balances in place, as Councillor Tribe said. So Bob, again, is just off with the fairies, off trying to have got some vendetta when all they want is accountability.
Proudfoot. Now, just a technicality, we are debating the amendment suggested by Councillor Tribe, but we need to foreshadow the original motion. And if this is lost, then we'll go back to that and vote on that.
It's not an amendment.
It's a motion. Yeah, that's the motion. Yes, thank you. It's the recommendation. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair. I was in two minds about this, but I think that we are leaving ourselves open, because I agree with Councillor Prattle. It would be great to be able to trust everyone in the room. But looking at past experience and past council expenses, that has not potentially been the case. Looking at the disparity between some and the rest, I think many people do all this with genuine, and it's not stopping people seeing ratepayers and residents or going out and doing things. It is coming in line with OLG guidelines. It is then, it's making people make smart choices about when they meet people to try and regulate the time. I have to do this anyway because I have limited amount of time that I can provide to my council duties. So therefore, whenever I go to a CCB, if I need to meet with someone, I make sure it's at the same time. If I have to take my kids somewhere, I meet with someone at the same time, so I don't make claims because I'm there doing something else. It's about being smart the way we operate, and removing this doesn't stop anybody going to see resident ratepayers when they need to. It's about making sure we think about it before we do it. And also, it does mean that if you are driving longer distances, as we all need to within the Shoalhaven, it means that when you are doing that official business and there is a record of it and people are advised, then at least there is that evidence that if something happens to you, we have ability to be covered. I just think going away, I don't understand if the OLG and the other councils across New South Wales, if this is not part of theirs, then why do we have it? Why are we so special and why do we need it and none of them do? So I don't see it being necessary. I think the others are, and our requirement to go and visit ratepayers and residents is we can do it. It just means a couple of seconds. I'm sure if we talk less in the meetings, we'll get some of that time back and we would actually be able to do those additional things to ask for permission. So I just think there is an opportunity here for us to align again with OLG and also demonstrate to our community that we are willing to think more about how we claim and what we can do when we're expecting them to put their hands in their pockets, and also expecting our staff to tighten strings and save money wherever we can, like family daycare and all the other things we have stopped, to enable us to do this. And I just think it's a very small thing. It doesn't make a big difference, or shouldn't make a difference to the way we operate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston.
Another very smart woman on council. I mean, if you compare what the points they raise and how they raise it compared to Bob Proudfoot's, I don't know what you'd call it, sort of stage productions and diversions and whatever else. Councillor Johnston, a very good councillor with lots of sensible points there. This is about accountability. Why are we any different? Well, why we're different is that Patricia White needs to accumulate cash. That would appear to be what I see. It's my view.
Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I question the legality of the petition that you've tabled in the papers. The policy of petitions must be that is 500 for it to be put into the business paper. Some question the legality on that.
I'm going to have to. We're actually debating this particular motion at the moment, so I'm going to have to defer to the acting CEO.
I don't want decisions based on that being in there, which is why I'm putting that through now.
Through you, Chair. So, councillors, although a petition, it was included as submission through the exhibition period. So the issues raised, whether a petition or not, were still issues that were submitted as part of the public exhibition period. I will ask our Manager of Governance, Risk and Assurance, Business Risk and Assurance, to comment further on that.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just to confirm, in Council's petition policy does allow members of the community to submit petitions to council of a range of basically any number of individual petitioners. The policy and the 500 figure in the policy stipulates that if a petition is received by council that has more than 500 signatures and it's not relating to a matter which is already in a reporting process to council or not already being considered in a council process, then it will prompt a fresh and separate report to council. In this scenario, it came in during the submission process, and so therefore we've included it as commentary for councillors to consider.
Thank you. Okay, speaking to the amendment, I would like to put in an amendment at the right point. Also, I just want to correct Ben there. Initially, when Ben spoke, he said there was 306 signatures on that petition. Is that correct? In the report, it's actually 176 signatures were received during.
It might have been updated, so we'll have to take Councillor Christolitis at his word there. I think Councillor
I'd like
Kemp.
to see some proof of that. Thank you.
I'm sure that'll be available.
And I'd like to move an amendment when that's applicable. Thank you.
So here we have one of the great intellects of the Shoalhaven showing her in-depth legal knowledge and a depth of understanding of council procedures. This woman is completely out of her depth. So what she's done here, she's sort of broken the procedure. She's challenged the petition, which was quite properly submitted. In fact, it was submitted twice. It was submitted once with the submission that I made, and it was updated with the numbers of 306 people. So this is a diversion. This is an attempt to silence 306 people of the town. Goes clearly against the transparency and listening line that the SIG put out during the election. As a councillor, is a complete farce and has no idea what she's doing. She thinks, I think, that she's in the front bar at the Marlin Hotel.
Motion, which has had changes by the councillor tabling the motion. You have a foreshadowed motion.
Yeah.
So it's up to whether Councillor Kemp would like to put an amendment through on the motion here or the foreshadowed motion.
Would you like the amendment on the foreshadowed motion, which is the original motion, or the current amendment that we're discussing at the moment? While you're thinking about that, I might add my brief from the chair.
The original, please.
Yeah, okay. We'll come back to that in a moment. We're talking about the amendment proposed by Councillor Tribe. I'm going to say that I do regard it as a little bit of a slur on the character of the current councillors. So I do back Councillor Proudfoot in his assessment. We do talk with the ratepayers. It's part of the job. We go out, we talk with them on the phone for the most time. But when required, we might go and visit for a DA or for drainage or whatever. You do have to go on site. So I think those rare times that you shouldn't have to be treated like a school child. there is detail. You have to put detail into your expenses form, and you have to verify that's a legitimate person. I'm sure that could be followed up at the slightest provocation, but I think you'd have to take it from the position as councillor that you would do that in good faith. So I think that the meetings with ratepayers and residents should be left in as is. I don't think we're talking about a major total here. It doesn't happen all that often, or if it does, it's a necessity of the job. We're councillors serving the community. You should be able to go and visit with a ratepayer and a resident if absolutely required, given that most of the business does happen on the phone. It's a rare exception, but you have to fill in the detail. So with that, we're going to...
I'm not sure if the Grand Poobah of SIG, Councillor Watson, gave all the SIG councillors tips on how to sort of pull the wool over the eyes of people who are watching meetings and attending meetings. What Councillor Wilkins is talking here is nonsense. Nobody is suggesting that they don't talk residents and ratepayers. The fact is, at the moment, Councillor White, or Mayor White, is running around $30,000 divided by 95 cents. That's a lot of kilometres. That's not just going out to see the occasional drain. It appears she almost lives in that car, collecting her money. So, this claim that somehow they've been treated like school children, well, the reason is, as detailed in the facts before, it's out of control. Mayor White is out of control. She's operating within the policy, but earning a nice little earner. It's, this issue of trust, again, personally, I don't trust her.
We're going to vote on this amendment now.
Sorry, can I have my right of reply?
Yes, you may have your right of reply. Councillor Tribe.
Thank you, and thank you for the discussion, everybody. Can I please assure you that it is no slur on any individual councillor. I've been very outspoken on this issue even before I was elected, and before I even knew what the makeup of this council would be. I was quite vocal on this, and I still maintain that it is about following best practice and good governance, not a slash on any individual, I assure you. As many have pointed out, that yes, you can still meet with residents. No one is stopping you from meeting with residents. I myself have met with residents and looked at drains before and after CCB meetings, and on my way to other things. I've managed to not claim for these because I don't believe that you should be able to, because it is against the OLG best practice. And so I have found other ways around it. My concern is not just the kilometres themselves, it's that it triggers, as we heard in the briefing, a whole range of other things that, depending on the time of day, it triggers meal allowances and has other flow-on effects that affect our bottom line at a time where we are trying to cut back. It's about, I like what Councillor Johnston said, it's about making smart choices. And so I do commend this best practice to you. I notice that we have made exceptions and I support those, but I do think we need to stick as closely as possible to the model template, and I encourage you to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Tribe. Let's head to the machines to vote on this amendment first of all.
Councillor Johnston, I'm for.
Excuse me, Mr Chair, that's voting for the motion, not the amendment? Thank
you. Yeah, the motion with the amendment, yes, exactly, which became the motion. Thank you.
For, please.
Councillor Johnston, I'm for.
Has everyone put their vote in? I'm missing one. So does everyone agree with that their vote's been represented? So that's been carried. Against, Councillor Clancy, Councillor Kemp, Councillor Cox, Councillor Proudfoot, Councillor Wilkins, and for, Councillor Kazmiri, Councillor Dunn, Councillor Tribe, Councillor Norris, Councillor Boyd, and Councillor Johnston and Councillor Christolitis. 7-5. So we move on. Scott, we're done.
I did ask that an amendment be put in when we went to...
It was a little out of context. It had to go in the foreshadowed. You said it had to go in the foreshadowed motion, which was the original one. We can't go back to the foreshadowed motion as this motion's been carried. So the foreshadowed motion has lapsed.
Okay, I'll have to put in a rescission. Thank you.
I'm learning quickly. some would say not quickly enough. But
Well, Mr. Chair, this may be the most complex introduction.
all right.